Jeremiah 30 verse 19. Thanksgiving, multiplication, and glory. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. This verse from Jeremiah 30 is part of a broader promise of restoration to God's people. Israel had endured suffering, judgment, and exile because of disobedience, but God's covenant faithfulness meant their story would not end in despair. Instead, He declared a future filled with hope, abundance, and joy. Jeremiah 30 verse 19 beautifully encapsulates this promise in 3 dimensions: thanksgiving, multiplication, and glory. 1. Thanksgiving as a sign of restoration. The first evidence of God's hand at work is the return of thanksgiving. When hearts are weighed down by grief, praise feels impossible. But when God brings deliverance, the natural response is gratitude. The verse begins with a vision of people rejoicing. Out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry. Thanksgiving is more than polite words. It is the overflow of recognition that God has reversed circumstances. Where once there were cries of lament, now songs of joy break forth. This shift reminds us that true restoration is not only external but also internal. God transforms mourning into dancing, replacing heaviness with the garment of praise. In our own lives, thanksgiving is often the first fruit of recognizing God's goodness. When He redeems us from sin, lifts us out of trials, or answers prayer, our hearts cannot remain silent. Gratitude becomes a testimony that God has acted, and it sets the tone for the blessings that follow. 2. Multiplication instead of scarcity. The second promise in this verse is multiplication. I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. For a nation that had been scattered and diminished, this word was powerful. God was promising not only survival but growth. Multiplication is a theme woven throughout Scripture. From God's blessing on Abraham to the expansion of the early church, increase is often tied to divine favor. Spiritually, this multiplication extends beyond numbers. It can mean the multiplication of faith, resources, influence, or fruitfulness. Where there was once lack, God provides abundance. Where there was weakness, He gives strength. The promise, they shall not be few, reminds us that God's plans for His people are expansive. He takes what is small and insignificant and enlarges it for His glory. 3. Glory instead of smallness. Finally, God declares, I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. To be glorified is to be lifted, honored, and given significance. The nation of Israel, once despised and oppressed, would again be recognized as God's chosen people. Their identity and destiny would be restored, not because of their merit, but because of God's covenant love.